Hi, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How about yourself?
Fine, thank you. How was your week?
It was all right. It's all right. It's close to finals, so I'm getting busy, but it was good.
Okay, great. All right. So, did you have enough time to practice this
Yes.
week? Okay, great, wonderful. Okay, so what are you going to play for us today?
I'll first play the Bach prelude and fugue number 20 in A minor from Book 2,
Yes?
and then I will play the Valley of the Obermann by Liszt.
Okay, wonderful. How is it going since last time?
It's going well. I still struggle on the octaves, but I've been doing the pinky and thumb alone, swinging and doing the different rhythms.
Okay, great.
Every day.
And how's the prelude?
The prelude is getting better. I practiced the second half
Yes.
more this week, and then I tried taking all of the voices of the fugue alone so that I could really hear what was going on and emphasize the harmony, and also try and push like a wave on the opening.
Oh, great. I'm happy to hear that. Are you sufficiently warmed up?
Yes.
Okay, great. So therefore, I will let you play, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoy listening, to you. Lots of progress. How do you feel?
I feel like the fugue is getting better. The fugue is getting better every week, so I'm happy to see that. I'm still trying to work on the trills. Some of it was better this week. Other times the trills are still more pervasive than what I want them to be. But I like to keep working to try and achieve that finger articulation.
Yeah. The prelude was much better. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, the second half one, I tried to make it less clunky than last week.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to work on getting the right atmosphere and making it musical.
Yeah. I think that you had good variety in dynamics. How do you feel about that? I could distinguish more the major from the minor.
Yeah, and I always have to remind myself not to sustain and then make sure that when I am making a dynamic change that it is conscious and.
Okay, let's analyze. What are the things that you were happy about your performance, and what are the things that we can still improve on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'd still like to improve on the trills, or at least making them less prevalent, making sure that the other two voices get their chance to be heard.
How did you practice your trills, by the way?
Well, I tried going through each voice alone, and then keep holding all the notes down, and then after I did this, it would be. And then doing different rhythms with that, and then doing and then getting
Good
faster.
idea, and also it helps to shift your position a little bit. Phrase your trill. Da, 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 da. Trills become heavy when we stop phrasing them. La, da, 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 da. And when you phrase, you shift positions. Also, every trill is a little different.
Right.
For example, so this trill might be a little different from, for example, here. Not easy to. And then, there are some differences in trills.
Right.
And it depends also on where they are located too. For example, could you tell me? Could you tell me? Point out a place where specific places where trills are different. And it depends on the keys too, whether it's minor, major, at the beginning of the phrase or end of the phrase.
Right. So these two would be different than this section of trills, because the trills are happening. These are special, while these are part of a sequence of trills. And the same thing goes for this spot. But for example, like here, when I find this to be a very special chord, and so this trill has to have the momentum to lead it into the B flat.
Hey, that's it. So therefore, trills can instigate the movement, and in other places, trills can help to
Keep lay back or
exactly relax a little bit, right? So therefore, we have to make the difference. And you have this long build-up. Did you notice that?
Right.
This long build-up, and there is so much tension.
Yes.
And the trills helps to promote the movement, helps to promote the build-up. Da 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 da. Can I take your place?
Of course.
Yeah. Now. Here, see, the build-up starts here. And then ta, you see the dissonance, B flat A, very pungent. The dissonance highlight what? Highlights the tension, highlights the expressiveness, highlights the drama. So therefore, the trills is almost like an alert. There is a kind of underlying thread here, which culminates here. As opposed to, let's see, what would be a good place where the trills relax? Oh, yeah. Because there is a sense of a resolution here. So a little lighter. Instead, here it had more of a sense of urgency. So, but it must never become heavy, or we must never have the feelings that the trill is stopping the movement. Excuse me. At the beginning, so therefore, very nice. You started very well, good authority, but I think that it needs a little more flexibility still. Okay? Push your wave, and you did. No, you don't need to do that. After all, this is part of a phrase. It's not ta, ta, da, 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 da. And the way you played was very nice, but it was too separated from each other.
Okay.
Cello, cello, cello. Therefore, the trills are a little different. Either they promote the movement or they are more in the background. That measure would be a prime example of being more in the background.
Right.
They have to be light. Which instrument would be good to do the trills?
In that register, or
yes, in that register.
I mean, a viola da gamba or a viola.
Something very light, right?
Right.
I perceive them more like vibrations. And it's no. This. Kind of light, like little frills, on those costumes. They were wearing costumes with the buttons and all these beautiful decorations and brooches, and those ornaments are supposed to be like that, kind of light and enhance over costume. At the beginning, like a question. It's like a question, but with authority. The G sharp. What's that?
The leading tone.
The leading tone. And do we have A immediately after that?
No.
No. What follows next? Da, la, 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 la. More question, right? Until the other voice responds. But then it becomes also a question. D sharp is what? The leading tone to?
To E.
Exactly. And again, he doesn't respond, until here. And the answer becomes a question. Again, with like Bach, everything is like a circle. Question becomes answer. Answer becomes question. Question becomes another answer. And he always he endlessly varies. That's what makes his music so, so perfect.
Yeah.
I think that you can, let's try that one more time, for the sake of interpretation.
Sure.
The technique is getting better and better. You are going to continue to work on the trill. But I think for now, because we are working on the style, even though the trills are not going to be up to speed yet, let's try to phrase them. And then you have to take the trills in context. For example, here, you know that that's very dissonant, right? Oh, it's like a bell which goes out of tune.
Yeah, yeah.
Bell of doom. So remember, la is very powerful, but it's also flexible. That's better. Could you feel more the invisible relationship between the notes?
Okay.
It feels like that da, da, and I think that they need to have more connection. Da, 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 da. Even if you play them detached, you should have a tension. You should have a kind of a yearning for the next note. Da, da, da. And I still perceive them as the way you play. Dum, dum, dum. You know, it's almost like someone who says, clean up your room. And they are not going to say clean up.
Yeah. I won't do that.
Okay. The G sharp is like room, you know?
Yeah.
And for once, I will ask you to feel, you know, to place an emphasis because that's a leading tone. It's not a nice leading tone. It's dum, da, ra, sustain, da. It's not a diminuendo on the way down. In the contrary, you know? It's more, you know? It's a more bossy in a way.
Yeah.
That's better, thank you. Very good, very good. And another thing that I would like you to highlight is again the direction of the subject. It's so easy to lose track of one voice when there are so many notes going on. So therefore, you have to make sure da, 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 and then again da, da, the shape. You have to shape the subject every time. And at the same time, we talked about the overall picture and the details, right? So you have to coordinate that. You have to be the conductor.
Right.
You have to be able to see the overall ensemble, and at the same time, be able to identify and refine a flute part, bassoon part, etc.
Right.
Okay? Let's try one more time. That's okay. That's better. I could perceive the shape of the subject more. That is so easy to miss it.
Yeah,
And
the entrance.
And this one is different from the other. What
Yeah,
i-
it's
in, a,
not the same. interval,
in what
too.
way? Da, da, da. And also, you know, something is missing, no? It's a fourth, right? You know,
Right.
da, 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 da. What is missing? It seems that something is missing.
The first note.
It seems like it, right?
You're right.
Yeah, da, da. Why does Bach do such a thing to us? Huh?
For surprise, for suspense, for.
Yeah, it's almost like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is he chopping off the first note? Weird. I look everywhere. Everywhere. Is there anything? What should have been the first note?
I'm sorry.
What should have been the first note? Before this.
Oh, it should have been, well, it should have been G.
Is there a G?
No, well, there's a G right there,
But
but,
it's
but
kind of
it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
Could
you
it
can't
be?
really-
Could it be like he's hiding something? Like why does he do that? You know, it's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky mind. Da 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 da, la la. Surprise! It's like a thief hiding behind the bushes. You know, the bushes of notes, and then I'm here now. I'm here. I'm here. You know, and you cannot catch me.
Yeah.
Could we make it like more of? It's almost like a mystery novel. Okay?
Right.
Would you like to try one? When you know, when I and we still have a week, you know, before the jury.
Yeah.
It's like a new guest. You know? When we introduce a new element in a family, what happens? I mean, when a new guest arrives in your house, what happens? Does things go smoothly at first?
No.
What happens then?
Sometimes it's a little awkward. People don't talk necessarily.
Exactly. But we have to rework the dynamics, right? The
Right.
family dynamics in order to welcome the guest. And that takes time. What I'm trying to say is that when you have worked very long on a piece like this, and you introduce a new element, the old things will fall apart.
Yeah.
But then you are an advanced student, so you can, you know, incorporate a new thing slowly and gradually. You know, you will become more natural at, you know,
Right.
at expressing the new element without losing the old things. Okay. Da, da. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is slow.
So, yeah, slower. Yes. Yeah.
So slow, like a violinist. Violinists, they go very slow. Okay. I have an idea. Remember the ghost playing? Did we do
Yes,
the ghost?
yes.
So therefore everything, you ghost everything except for the G and the E, A, B.
Okay.
Very slowly. Oh, the G. La, B. Good. Now let's try, you know, sounding everything. I think that you can exaggerate for now. Exaggerate the subject.
Okay. That was better, so you'll have to work on that, Right.
okay? The ghost, you know, playing will help you. But, you know, before I couldn't hear any, you know, the subject at all, so. And that will come with time. You have to listen to yourself many times, practice slowly, and what was buried will finally, you know, emerge from the ground, okay? Would you like to try now? Let's start from another space, okay, for
Sure.
the sake of time.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Subject. That's it. That was better. Your trill was, a little heavy, and here especially, and here especially. So therefore, try to speed up the trill a little. Okay. Instead of thinking 2 notes at a time, did you think of playing them in groups of 3? Kind of gradually increase the speed.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, I haven't thought of that.
Yeah, like when you practice slowly, instead of always thinking 2 notes, you can think 3 notes and then 4 notes. So therefore, and then you can vary a little. You are doing always. You can try different speeds. Okay. That's much better. Did you hear it? You are able to play the trill very, quickly and lightly, but I think that you're following the other voice. You see what I mean? So you have to maintain. It's, as I told you, it's separate and yet it's together.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's almost like an organization, a school, or any organization, a restaurant or whatever, the business is. Everybody must do their work, and yet they have to coordinate their work in relation to each other for a common purpose.
Right.
And what is happening is that you are letting yourself to be too influenced by your co-workers.
Right.
So as a result, you lose the lightness of it. You have to be able to separate, and at the same time, enhance the other voice.
Sure.
Yeah. So therefore, if you can, it was much better, you see? I
Yes,
think that we are
yes.
thinking about that. So therefore, you have to be able to coordinate different types of touches. And then guess what helps is, again, slow. Slow always helps. Slow is fast. Fast is actually slow. I mean, in terms of practice, of course. Okay, good job. Do you have any question?
No, I think.
Oh, okay. The prelude, I really enjoyed the expressiveness of it. I can see that you are thinking of viola da gamba, strings, etc. So much better. It was, fluid and creamy. Of course, one can do more in
Yes.
terms of mystery.
Absolutely.
We need to have a kind of structure
Okay.
because it sounds like an improvisation, but it's not actually. According to you, because everybody interprets a piece differently, do you see a kind of gradual build-up and a climactic point in the first part? I think at the beginning there is a build-up towards that, but without being obvious. There is all this conversation. Oh, sorry. Did you notice that we go, from middle range, a little higher here,
Yeah.
and it starts all over again with the left hand, and then. And then starts from the lower range, and what happens?
And goes up again. And stuff.
So you see there's a build-up.
Yeah.
There's again the overall picture and the little details. And I think that you are the more the details and the overall image. So therefore you have to coordinate the details again towards larger scheme. So da-da-da-da. You see I need more structure. From here you want to go to here, right?
Right.
And then from here, you want to go to here, right? And then after the tension, we relax a little bit and slow build up until the very end.
Right.
Could we do that one? And then
Yeah,
go 2-2, 2-2,
absolutely. Yes.
2-2. notice something also very interesting. He ends on what? Leading tone.
Leading tone.
And he doesn't give the answer. It's exactly like the subject of the fugue. You know, he does not want to give you the answer right away. It always ends with a question. Okay? I will leave it up to you to figure out the structure. You can do that on your own, and then we'll discuss that on Friday at studio class. Okay? Good.
That'd be great.
Very good job. That was so much better. Now we have to move on to Liszt, otherwise we won't have time for it.
Do you want me to play the whole list?
Oh
Or
yes,
just
until, well, let's see how it goes, and I might have to interrupt you at some point,
Yeah.
but you have to start from the beginning,
Okay.
all right?
All right.
Oh, by the way, I have to silence the phone, you know, because I forgot to, let's see. Okay. Oh,
Would you like to?
yes, indeed. Then I forgot something else. Yeah.
I think that's backwards, I'm sorry.
Oh. Miles, because of the time, you know, it might be better that we start, well,
Do you want to focus on like the climactic point where all the octaves are?
yes, maybe, you know, you can say ta-da in the major key, okay?
This part?
No, when you have the ta-da-da-da-da, the major, you know, in C major, ta-da,
Oh,
yes.
oh, those vibrations.
Yes, the vibrations. Well, overall, lots of progress again. Well, how do you feel?
You know, I'm always disappointed by those octaves.
You mean the ends?
I've been trying. It's just hard because they're pure triads, and the trick is to not lock up, like when you're doing good. Like,
yes, that's true.
You can't lock up, and then I lock up, and then.
You have to continue to shape. I think the shaping is key. By the way, there is also piano trio. You know, Liszt made the piano.
Yeah.
Are you aware of it?
Yes.
And the octaves are depicted by violin and cello. They're like melodic lines. And you had lots of power, and I think the octaves are becoming much better. I think it helps to continue to practice each voice alone and doing all the movements that we talked about, the rotation. I think that it can be more rounded in terms of you have to continue to shape. You have to forget that they are octaves. Think of them as a single melodic line. I just wanted you to be more cognizant of the dynamics. I get all mixed up with all these pages. Okay, that's okay. You see, you made the diminuendo too early as a recitative. You know, it's a forte, and then gradual diminuendo, and another diminuendo until you reach that. It has to be more progressive. Da da da, tam, tam.
Okay.
It's like an answer, and then another complaint. Da da da. And here we have piano. Mm-hmm. And then you have to start piano here. Da, and this time it's a crescendo. Da, 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 da. And I didn't. You see, that's the same pattern, except that this time it's a crescendo. Okay, so I didn't feel the difference. Right. So therefore, those little details really matter. So that was very nice. One, da, 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 very nice job with the sonorities. You had a rich sound, which I really appreciate, because some interpretation present a very hollow sound, but you have a very nice sound. All these were much better. Careful, you forgot about the tie here. Da 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 da. Okay.
Always with the tie.
I wish we had more time, but I know that you have to, your class in, 5 minutes. The shaping was much better here. If you listen to the piano trio, you will see that the thirds are played by violin. It's a Paganini, ta 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 dum pa da dum ta, and then those are played by the cello. Listen to that piano trio. Okay. Because that will give you idea. I think that those, the double stop, la 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 la, can sound more like a Paganini, more like a violin, pa 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 la, da, and then da 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 la, da. He's having fun, da da da. Of course, it's dramatic and all that, but there is also an element of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the big turmoil, where is that big octave, the explosion? Good job, but then. More rounded. Okay. It was a little bit like bullets instead of fire. Okay. Da, 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 da. You have to think of the melodic line. And it was. It has to. La, da, 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 da. It's like a circle. It's so easy to neglect that rounded aspect. But I don't want you to weaken your sound for that. You have to keep the richness of it. Huh? La, da, da. But it was too. I think that it could be shaped more. Would you like to try just for 1 second, okay? Yeah. Yeah. And the key again is to practice that slowly. Practice like a violinist. Okay. That was better in terms of sound. There was less edginess and more roundness. You have to practice slowly like a violinist. Violinist and cellist, it's not ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. It's not, it always has that lyrical side, that shaping, that beautiful melodic line which is present in all the virtuosic passages. It's not empty virtuosity. Now, really, really like the sound, very singing. I think that the triplets could inject more of a flowing motion. Okay. It was a little static.
Yeah. I actually sensed that.
It was a little, the little, he was very fond of lakes and water, like the impressionist, composers. And then, did you practice that just without the melodic line? Yeah. Feel the syncopation. La, 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 la. It's not the da da la la static water. If it's heavy, if it is not phrase, Try a little bit of that. La da.
Sorry.
That's it. And then the melodic is da, 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 da. It has to go to da. That's it. And it felt like one slur separated from the next slur.
Okay.
It's lento, but it has still a flow,
Okay.
you know, flow to it. Let's try one more time. That one. Could you, you know, there's more, you know.
So feeling two more.
You're doing. You see the little, you know, accompaniment
Yes.
kind of helps to carry that F sharp. Otherwise, it becomes da da. What's going on? There's no anticipation. There's a slight sense of anticipation. Da da, tension. Da da, and you're doing. Da, da. Where's my flow? Okay. Oh, the foot. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's it. Hey, did you hear the difference?
Yeah.
There was a difference, you know. It was almost imperceptible, but it had direction. You are not letting the F sharp die. Da da. Da da da. You know, it has to. So therefore, that must not be dead.
Sure.
Da da. It's like moving a little. Okay. And then same thing here. Then you are going to correct all the rest because it was a da da. You see, it stopped a little
Yes,
bit.
yeah.
Okay. Now, very nice build up. You know, very nice. You're really in your element here. One could see that you're enjoying yourself thoroughly here. That could be more again. Da 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 da.
Yeah, just trying to make sure that my wrist doesn't lock up.
Yeah, but then you have to be also thinking of the musical aspect. La da 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 da. It's like angels flying down, and you know, it's not just octaves. And then you have to support that with the left hand. Did you practice the left hand along? Dum, la la, la la. It has to support the right hand. Would you like to try a little bit that octave, just that measure, okay? You have to start with, no, I really like your rich sound. Don't weaken.
Okay.
Okay? That was much better. You know why it was better? Because I could also hear the left hand. Da, la, da. Now, because each hand, again, like with Bach, feeds on each other. It's important to realize that everything is part of a whole, even though each part must accomplish their own task. You know, it's like people, you know, people. Now, let's see. The ending, very exciting. Well, oh, okay.
Sorry.
Very exciting. I like that. I like the energy that you bring. But then,
Yeah. Every time I do this like polytonal thing on accident.
did you also do the shifty accent?
Yes, the.
Or did you also go backward?
Ah, yes.
Well, then I would propose something. You know, you have to practice that very slowly and gradually increase the tempo until you know you get it.
Right.
You know, da da da, and then you can. I don't think there is a tempo marking, right? So you can start a little slower, like a cadenza, da 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 da, instead of da 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 da, and then stopping in the middle.
Yeah.
So we are going to, you know, reinforce everything, but lots of progress.
Thank you.
The jury will be really good.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.